Hello, MGTOW. Hello, man. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about the top 5 ways to not be destroyed by a crazy bitch. But first, let me say thank you to everybody who's been stopping by, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, even donating. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and click the subscribe button, click the bell symbol next to it, and accept the email notifications. It'll help me grow my channel, and I would really appreciate it. Now, let's talk about the top 5 ways to not be destroyed by a crazy bitch. Now, this is part of my bitch series of videos available for free here on YouTube. Number 5. The first way to not be destroyed by a crazy bitch is to see the bitch coming and to avoid the bitch completely. This is the true way of the master. You don't even let the bitch into your life. You recognize her from a mile away. You go to the other side of the street. You don't make eye contact with her as she passes by. It doesn't matter what she says, what she offers, what she asks for. You just move past the bitch because you know it's a bitch, and any contact with them is going to be to your disadvantage. There is great wisdom in this. How does the great master deal with obstacles and difficulties? Well, the great master doesn't even encounter them. He avoids them entirely. Okay, so I hope you understand that. Now, moving on. Number 4. Okay, you're not a great master yet. Number 5 didn't work, and now you are stuck dealing with a crazy bitch. What are you going to do? It's a bitch. She is destructive, and you were unable to avoid her. I don't know, maybe it's your mother. Maybe it's your wife. Maybe it's your girlfriend. I don't know. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. Now, here's the important lesson to learn at this stage. Don't rely on the bitch, okay? Don't have anything that she needs to do. I know, maybe she's your mother and you need her to bring you food or clean your room or help you go to school. Forget about it, okay? Whatever help you can get from a crazy woman is not worth the trouble that you're going to have to go through in order to get that help. And this is a lifelong lesson that men need to learn. Look, I believe every man eventually goes MGTOW. Eventually, every man must take the long walk, and you must take the long walk alone. Eventually, as a man, you are cast out from the group. Unless you want to be a group bitch. And this happens to a lot of men. Well, that's a different video. Don't become a group bitch. Now, in not relying on the bitch, you're essentially avoiding her, right? Like you're not establishing any sort of attachment. You're always moving away. And with this comes your independence. In other words, at first it's going to be hard, but as time goes on, you're going to find out, no, you don't even need the bitch. So now any sort of interaction that she's attempting to have with you is going to be like the exception. It's not as bad as it seems, even if it's like your mother, okay? Like eventually a young man figures out how to take care of himself and to avoid them, okay? So the number 4 tip is to become self-reliant and to become a stronger individual so that you don't have to have contact with the bitch. And that the only contact that you're having with the bitch is when you really can't avoid her and you know she's like coming after you to do you damage, okay? All right, very good. So moving on, number 3. And now we are moving into some advanced techniques. So don't go to this stage just automatically. You have to go through stages 5 and 4 before you get to stage number 3. So, and as I said, this is an advanced technique. Now, you've tried to avoid her. You can't. You cut off all unnecessary contact with her, and you still have contact with her. Like, maybe she's your supervisor or your manager, right? Or your boss, making demands, making unreasonable demands. Because if they're reasonable demands, no problem. You're gonna do your job. You're gonna take care of your stuff. There's no reason for the bitch to be coming after you unless she is in fact a crazy bitch at this stage. So now what are you gonna do? Well, as a man, you know what it feels like to have a crazy bitch barking at you and just being crazy with you. It's what you're going to do is without yelling at her or anything like that, you're going to express the fact that you don't like this. It's as simple as for a male to kind of like turn to the side and to look off at a somewhat 45-degree angle and to fold his arms. And you don't even have to stay locked in that position. You can just do that occasionally, all right? And I know it's very passive-aggressive. And even if, you're small, like, it's a mother or something like that, you can still assert this kind of way of like looking over someone, looking past someone. This is something that fundamentally women don't understand about men, or maybe they do and they're abusing it. It's not all right for a little woman to give a strong, healthy man orders. It hurts his pride. It hurts his masculinity, and it's not all right. And if you do it and you do it accidentally, he'll attack you. You know what I mean? So men know that, right? Like, you don't insult a man in front of other people. And if you do it completely unexpectedly in the wrong way at the wrong time, you can have some really serious results that you just didn't expect, right? So as a man and a woman's, now being abusive and, abusing her authority over you, your manner of expressing this is a somewhat passive, manner. And after, you can cut her off and say, is that all? Is that it? Is that all? And and you don't even have to be like violent about it yet. You don't have to be so upset about it. Look, this behavior that you're exhibiting, it's a warning to avoid going to the true stage of what this feels like. That's what I'm saying to you. This is how to avoid the trouble. You need to express that you don't like being treated in this fashion. And we're assuming that this is unfair. It's not like somebody coming to you and saying you need to be on work, to work on time. And then you're getting all angry about stuff or making, excuses and things like that. No, we're talking about this different level of abuse of authority. Now, I hope you haven't neglected these steps 5 and 4 and 3. Let's move on. The number 2 way to not be destroyed by a crazy bitch. And you have to take these in order. Don't neglect the earlier steps. I know that they might seem basic, but trust me, they got me through childhood dealing with an alcoholic mother, so they work. Okay, number 2 method for dealing with a crazy bitch. You couldn't avoid her. You were unable to, separate from her and just keep contact with her at such a, minimum degree that it becomes a non-issue. You've expressed your displeasure with, interacting with her. You curtail her behavior. You demonstrate your displeasure with it. And you're doing it as a means to forestall a more direct emotional response to the situation. So do that. That's very important. Everything you're doing as a man dealing with a woman is in relation to how they're acting. It becomes that. First, you're just trying to avoid them, but now you're having to interact with them. And if they're, not screaming, you're not escalating these situations. Everything you're doing is to de-escalate and then to avoid these situations. Because they're crazy. And, the real nasty potential situation is when you're not at your best. You know what I mean? When you've got 5 other things going wrong in your life, and then you're having to deal with this just crazy entitled princess bitch, and then you just lose it. That's what you don't want to do, okay? You're reading her like a wild animal, and you're responding like as a trainer, okay? You can't unload. But in stage number 2, that's what you're going to start to do. So, as I said, advanced technique here, right? Because you're stuck. You can't not be in contact with her. You've tried to express the fact that you don't like being treated this way. So now what you're going to do is you're going to snap back at her. And it's going to be regarding what she wants from you. In other words, if she doesn't want anything from you, she's not going to be dealing with you. And now what you're doing is you're saying, no, I'm withholding what you want. You're being unreasonable. And you're doing it in this somewhat emotional manner. And you're responding in kind to how she's doing it, okay? Now, she's going to escalate, right? And the way you're going to escalate is by withholding more and more stuff, more and more of what she wants of you. And the way you're going to do that is by making excuses. You're going to say, I'm too busy. I've got to do too many other things. You're not being reasonable. You don't understand. You don't appreciate all that I do. You need to leave me alone. You need to get off my back. In other words, because you've been drawn into this level of an interaction with this type of a person. Every stage, you've tried to avoid this. Now you're stuck in this. So now you're doing it in response to her, kind of like barking back at a smaller dog. And again, you're doing it as a method to forestall things escalating to a higher degree. All right, moving on. Number 1 technique for you to not be destroyed by a crazy bitch. Now, all the other techniques have not worked, right? Your last technique is to go your own way. Recognize that some people, they want too much. They expect too much. They've had too much entitlement in their lives. They're not prepared to take responsibility for the decisions that they've made in life. And they want other people to take that responsibility. They haven't worked, so they haven't earned, and now they don't have money, and now they want to borrow money from you. They haven't taken care of their health, so now they can't do a job, and they want you to do a job. They're upset about who knows what, and they want to unload on you to feel better. It's just how they are. They don't know. It's just what they do. It's just how it's always been. How do you think people who are gluttons and fools in life get by in life? They certainly can't get by on their wits and their hard work, can they? Because they're gluttons and they're fools. How do they get by? They get by because other people help them. They use guilt, they use manipulation, they use obligation, they use emotional blackmail. They'll pitch a fit, they'll cause trouble, they'll get people fired, they'll play the victim, they'll claim that they've been oppressed for thousands of years. Right? You see the game, right? You see that this is how women behave. This is what they're doing. You see that this is how people that are playing the victim and want free stuff, that this is the game they're playing. They're coming to you, they're attacking you, they're saying, you have to do these things for me, and you're a bad man, you're a bad person. And if you don't do these things, you're a terrible person. You can't work with them, you can't hang around with them, you can't have conversations with them and chat with them, because the only thing they want to talk about is how evil and terrible you are, and what you should do for them, and how bad you should feel about who you are. It's nonstop. That's how they justify who they are, who and what they are. Okay, so there you go. The number one way to not be destroyed by a crazy bitch is to go MGTOW. So I hope you remembered to support the Howard Dare channel, and please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.